Over the last few weeks, every weekend, usually Friday evening to about Sunday evening, I've been using the Sidephone as my main phone, supplementing my smartphone with this hybrid dumb phone, if you will. I have quite a few thoughts, so let's jump right into it. For a staggering $300, the Sidephone pairs a cheap, scratch-prone plastic build with frustrating compromises like zero biometric security, no official IP water resistance, and a basic camera. The Sidephone feels clunky to navigate due to an unpolished OS and outdated Android version with a quirky T9 keyboard that lacks printed letters and relies entirely on muscle memory. The QWERTY keypad and sundial, available for an additional $30 each, come with their own issues or compromises. And I'd be remiss to mention the number one comment I seen on my unboxing video, one of the biggest cons of all, I think. Media is severely restricted by a lack of a headphone jack and a hard cap of 64 gigabytes of internal storage with no microSD expansion. So who actually made the Sidephone, and why is it still worth checking out here in 2026? Well, the Sidephone was created by a Canadian startup co-founded by Chris and Sebastian with the hardware manufacturing in Shenzhen. Despite the quirks I mentioned, there are many subreddits that praise the Sidephone as a great hybrid smartphone / dumb phone for intentional digital detoxing that also has all the daily essentials like Signal, Maps, Notes, etc. It's a great Android middle ground in a world dominated by the usual smartphone slabs that we see from all the top manufacturers. The best thing about the Sidephone, though, is that its tiny 2.8-inch display is intentionally tedious to use. It completely kills the urge to sit there and doom scroll. The hardware itself is also super unique, as I mentioned, featuring hot swappable modular keypads where you can custom map every single physical button to launch your favorite app or shortcuts. Now, it's not running Graphene OS, but it does ship with its own privacy-focused, completely de-Googled OS, meaning zero Google tracking out of the box. There's no Google Play services right out of the box. Ultimately, it hits the perfect middle ground. As I mentioned, you can still easily sideload modern apps like Uber or Signal, giving you the exact utilities you need without any of the addictive smartphone apps. Now, since it runs on Android 12 with outdated security patches, the Sidephone is definitely vulnerable to system-level exploits, so it can't compete with the airtight hardening and instant monthly updates you get with Graphene OS on like a Pixel, for example, and you can't install Graphene OS on the Sidephone as it's not truly supported by Graphene OS. It's great for keeping Google from tracking your data, but as far as the pure cybersecurity standpoint, it's just not built to withstand like modern hacks, for example, so don't look at this as a security, privacy-focused device. Just look at it as Google isn't able to track and access your data out of the box, provided there's no Google services installed on the device. Oh, and because Local Send is natively supported in the Sidephone's official app library, local file sharing works flawlessly and instantly across Linux, Mac, and Windows over your local Wi-Fi. For physical cable connection, its standard Android base allows you to easily drag and drop files like photos or music directly from Windows and Linux. Of course, Mac users still need to use the Android file transfer utility to get through Apple's walled garden. And no, it completely lacks Quick Share because Google's Quick Share framework requires modern Google Play services in order to work, so you won't be able to use Quick Share and say AirDrop with Mac now that it's available on Android. You would have to use something like Local Send, like I mentioned, in order to send files to nearby devices. You can absolutely use tools like Screen Copy though with the Sidephone. Since the device runs on a standard Android base, all you need to do is jump into the settings, unlock developer options, and toggle USB debugging. Once that's enabled, you can plug the phone into your computer via USB to use Screen Copy and flawlessly mirror and control the interface with your mouse and keyboard. Honestly, using Screen Copy with the Sidephone is probably the best life hack to avoid heavy app setup, logging into all your accounts, or managing files using the tiny 2.8-inch display or the quirky keypads. Rather, just do it all on your PC. Then once it's all set up the way you want it, you're good to go with a lot of time saved. While the modular keypads are incredibly cool to swap around, the iPod-inspired sundial is honestly pretty much a huge letdown, since it works like a basic button D-pad rather than a smooth, capacitive scroll wheel. The T9 setup is fine for pure minimalism, but the QWERTY keypad is easily my favorite because it just feels like a classic BlackBerry. The QWERTY keypad makes it so much easier to send text, and while overall it makes it an actual usable device for daily use, the sundial is a very intentional swap. If you plan to use the Sidephone for just music or very limited use, while then depending heavily on the 2.8-inch display for messaging, I'd say use the sundial if you're going fully off the grid and leaving everyone who messages you on red. It's really unfortunate that it's not a true click scroll wheel, but due to Apple's patents, I'm sure that plays into the why here. Oh, and in case you're wondering, because I've seen this question asked a lot in the subreddits as well as even on comments in my videos, if you have a Tesla and you're using the Sidephone, you can use an open source workaround called microG to get the Tesla app running. Just keep in mind that because the automatic walk-up key relies on Google's secure hardware frameworks, you'll be stuck only using the app for basic remote commands like manual unlocking and turning on the AC. Okay, with all that out of the way, what's it actually like using the Sidephone? Well, let's start with the software. It's very responsive, and in daily use, it's pretty smooth. The hiccups are less related to the software, more specific to the keypads. While the typing experience has been good on the QWERTY keypad, as I mentioned, there are hoops to jump through just to get it working with the Sidephone. You can't just swap the keypad and expect everything to work just out of the box. It requires some tinkering, unfortunately. On a scale of 1 to 10 from day one unboxing to now, the OS has certainly improved. It started out as maybe a 4 out of 10 for me and has jumped to maybe a 6 or 7 out of 10 now. Chris, Sebastian, and the team at Sidephone have pushed updates to the Sidephone. As you can see here, I am running the latest software on my device here, which was from May, and overall, it's just really nice to see that they are pushing updates to this device. So it's not like they launched this device and they're not pushing any updates to it at all. They are still updating the software, and they're working really hard, it seems, to improve the overall experience, especially the experience with the modular keypads, for example. So again, just really nice to see that they are pushing updates to this. So if you're curious about updates, I know it runs Android 12 and it has an older security update in terms of the Android security patches, but in terms of the operating system overall specific to the Sidephone, the team at Sidephone, they are working hard to push updates to this device. Build quality wise, you probably already noticed mine's not holding up the best, at least not the tiny 2.8-inch display that is all scratched up, and usually I just toss it into my pocket. While I don't like using a case with any of my phones, I prefer not to use one on the Sidephone either, and while Sidephone also offers $10 cases, the cases are a bit flimsy themselves. I do like the color options, and I like that they have many different options for the different keypads that you're using, but I will say if you want to keep the plastic build from scratching, then of course use a case. I highly recommend it with this, and then maybe there's a screen protector out there that also fits this display, because you definitely will need that as well if you want to keep this thing in pristine condition. So in terms of the connectivity has been really solid. I've been using the initial SIM that I got out of the unboxing directly from Sidephone and enrolled through Sidephone to get the connectivity. There's two different plans, as I mentioned in my unboxing video. You can get, like, I think it's a 1 gig plan and a 10 gigabyte plan. You'll have to go back to my unboxing to check that out. But in terms of the connectivity, it's been great overall. The only complaint that I have about the connectivity is the fact that once I signed up through Sidephone, there's no way for me to manage the plan. I can't go into like a portal, sign in, change from the 10 gig to the 1 gig plan or whatever the plans are, and I can't even cancel it if I want to through like an actual portal. If you want to manage your plan that you've signed up for through Sidephone, you actually have to contact Sidephone support and work through their support in order to cancel or change your plan. That is not ideal, and I'm hoping in the future there's a portal available in order to manage the service that you've signed up for and you're paying for monthly, versus having to go through their support email to try to manage that plan. In terms of cameras on the Sidephone, or well, camera, because there is no selfie camera here on the front, you're just going to get this rear camera sensor on the back. It's not going to be flagship quality. It's really, again, a device that costs under $300, so you kind of get what you pay for in terms of camera quality here. But I took a few photo samples as well as some video samples. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on the overall quality. Battery life on the Sidephone is excellent, mostly because it completely lacks the typical apps that would leave me doom scrolling or consuming endless media. It's an intentional device that forces me to be more selective about how I use it, meaning that the modest 1800 milliamp hour battery easily gets me through that intentional use. It's technically rated for 4 days of mixed use, and I'd say in real world use, it's pretty close to that. Maybe more like 2 days heavy use, 3 to 4 with lighter use. From my experience, I can go from Friday to Saturday evening with heavier use, Friday to late Sunday evening, or Monday morning with lighter, more intentional use. Speaking of my usage, moving over to the Sidephone for the weekends has completely shifted how I spend my time with my family, helping me actually focus on everything around me instead of being digitally consumed. With a remote day job, a solo tech YouTube channel, and 4 kids ranging from 11 to 17, I just can't completely disconnect and move solely to a dumb phone. But that is exactly why the Sidephone exists. It represents a realistic hybrid approach built not just for those full-time minimalists, but for people like me who just want to reclaim their days and hours. This device is entirely about strict, active intentionality. It provides a physical boundary that forces you to choose when to engage with technology, making it the perfect tool to recoup your weekends without entirely cutting your lifeline to the modern world. There's the minimal phone, Light Phone 3, Books Palm Up 2 Pro, and so many dumb phone alternatives out there, but what drew me to the Sidephone specifically was their approach to the hybrid aspect, a de-Googled OS, the unique modularity, but also it's their first product and making things is hard. And I have to give credit where credit is due. Chris, Sebastian, the whole team at Sidephone, I think for a first gen product, a concept if you will, I think your team has delivered a really great, unique product to an ever-saturated space, a space that I do acknowledge is incredibly hard to jump right into. You not only have crazy competition across a global market, but you also have suppliers that are not the easiest to work with when you're first starting out. I come from a background of manufacturing and supply chain, so I fully understand many of the hurdles that you're going through, especially as a new brand and a new company building a new product. I think overall, the delivery of this, from the unboxing to the overall experience for a first generation product, you guys nailed it. I do have to give credit there. Of course, there are issues with this device, and I really appreciate that the team is listening to a lot of the feedback. And overall, I do have to give a shout out to the entire team. I think you did a great job in delivering this. Obviously, there's issues. There's always going to be issues. You're never going to make everyone happy. But as far as a Gen 1 product, I think the Sidephone is a really good smartphone, dumb phone hybrid for a lot of people. The original T9 keypad that was included with my Founder Edition Sidephone, as I mentioned, isn't the best and it doesn't have alphanumeric buttons. However, Sidephone recently launched the Classic keypad, which is a non-illuminated 21-button T9 setup featuring directional navigation, dedicated call keys, and alphanumeric buttons that can all be custom mapped just like all the other keypads. But I just wanted to note that it's really nice to see that they're also launching additional hardware and they're listening to the community feedback and improving the hardware over time. So overall, that's my review of the Sidephone. Again, thank you to Chris, Sebastian, and the team at Sidephone for sending this out. I really appreciate it. I've been enjoying this device. And again, kudos on this first gen product. I think the team is doing a great job. Again, with a first gen product in an ever saturated market, I really look forward to the future of Sidephone and what your team delivers. And for everyone else, thank you for watching. If you have any questions on this device, definitely drop a comment down below. I look forward to that discussion. And as always, thanks again for watching. Take care and stay safe.